Welcome to Management 301. Hi, I'm Vas Taras. I'm going to be your instructor this semester. Normally when I teach this class in the classroom, I start with an activity. And even though I cannot really do this activity the same way with you because you're watching it online, I'm going to describe you how it goes because this is kind of important. It gives a very good preview what this course is about. And so here's how it goes. Before I even introduce myself in the course, before I even talk about what the course is about, I'm going to ask, or I ask my students to participate in this game. And the game is, which way is north? So I basically ask my students to point with their finger in the direction of north. So which way is north? As you can imagine, or maybe you can't imagine, I don't know, but here is how it normally goes. We would have about 100 students in the classroom, or 80, and I would have students pointing in every possible direction, like literally every possible direction. Some students even point up, and some even for some reason point down, and that's a mystery to me. And then obviously just about any direction in the horizontal plane. And then I would say something like this. I would say, well, students, you know that you come from more or less the same background. You have more or less the same education level, age, experience, everything else. You see that many of your colleagues, peers here, are pointing to a different direction. So you probably realize that most of the students in this classroom are wrong. I mean, you cannot be all right. You're all pointing in different directions. So let's play this game again, but this time, if you have the slightest doubt which way is north, do not participate in this game. So only point in the direction of north if you're 100% sure that you know which way north is. What happens then is about 20% of the students drop out of the game, but then the rest of them stick with their original opinion and keep pointing in different directions. And then I would choose 2 students from the classroom, and I would say, well, you gentleman in yellow shirt and you guy or girl in the red shirt, you understand that one of you is definitely wrong. You're pointing in completely opposite directions. Are you sure you want to participate in this game? Are you sure you're so right and the other person is wrong? Maybe you should reconsider your opinion. And sure enough, every time they stick to their guns and they still point in the opposite directions and they still insist that no, I know, and he doesn't. Then in the end of this game, I actually pull out a compass and I say, well, you know what, north is that way. And then what happens is somebody says, yeah, I won. And I say, no, it's not really about which way is north. The point of this activity was to show that sometimes people would say that they know the answer, even if the evidence shows otherwise, even when the statistical probability is that they are wrong. And so the reason I play this game is because this is exactly what's going to be happening in this course pretty much every single lecture. Again, I'm not sure if you'll have that feeling because you will be watching it online or kind of taking it online. But in the classroom, this is what we have every single lecture. There will be always an issue. There will be always students in the classroom. In fact, in many cases, the majority of the class who think that they know. In fact, they not only think that they know, they actually are very, very confident that they know. And then I come and I say, well, actually you don't. First of all, what you know is a little tiny portion of what needs to be known. And second, even what you know is wrong. And so that kind of makes my job a little challenging. I used to teach statistics, and that was very easy. Teaching statistics is a blast. I mean, you come to the class, all the students are terrified. They hate statistics. They don't think they can comprehend it. And the only reason they take that course is because they have to. And then I come and I say, well, you know what, guys? Not that difficult, actually. Follow my lead, do what I tell you to do, and you will actually learn it. And you will maybe even get A+. And then, yes, at the end of the semester, many of them do get A+, or whatever grade they deserve, but higher grade. And they love me, they adore me. They say, oh, this is such a great professor. I never thought I could have such a high grade in stats, and I did. And I'm the good guy. Everybody loves me. International business is completely different. Everybody, or most of the students, come to the classroom with the perception that they already know everything there is to know. And so when I say that, no, that's not enough, they actually hate me because they think that, well, I don't think anybody hates me, and normally they actually like me. But again, I'm often that bad guy trying to prove to you that you don't know much about the stuff, you don't know enough. The thing is, it's not really you. I mean, take anybody on the street and ask them something about accounting or statistics, and most people will honestly say they don't know. Like, ask somebody on the street what standard deviation is or how to calculate standard error, and most people will say, I don't know. Take now the same 10 people on the street, randomly selected people, and ask them if they know much about immigration or exchange rates or job outsourcing. Just about anyone, in fact probably 10 out of 10 will say, yes, I do. In fact, I know so well that I'm even going to tell you what needs to be done. And if you disagree with me, then you're a fool, and I know and you don't. Of course we know immigration. We see immigrants all the time. Maybe I'm an immigrant. Maybe I know someone who is an immigrant. I know what the immigration policy should be. And of course I know what immigration does to our economy. Exchange rates? Of course I know what exchange rates are. I've been to Europe, I've been to Asia, I've seen Canadian dollars, euros, pesos, yuans, you name it. I know how to exchange them, I know how to calculate exchange rates. Of course I know it. I deserve an A+ in this area. And if you tell me that I don't, you're a fool. Or job outsourcing. Of course I know job outsourcing. That's what's killing the American economy. That's all those pesky Chinese who are stealing our jobs. That's bad. And when I come and say, well, you know what, actually job outsourcing is very economically beneficial, students look at me as if I'm some kind of freaking communist or just don't know much about economy or economics. And yes, by the end of the lecture, I present the pro and con views, and they actually think, yeah, you know what, maybe, yes, it's a problem, but there are many benefits there. But when I first present the idea, it's very difficult to discuss those topics because students, just like in this game about North, come with a very strong predisposition and they think that they know, and if you argue with them they actually believe that you are wrong about it and they are right. So anyway, be prepared that many of the topics we will be discussing, things that I will say will challenge your beliefs, challenge your views, but keep in mind that it's not about really beliefs or views. Everything I will be presenting in this course is empirically tested. We have evidence to support the things that I will be talking about. So just about any concept I will introduce is rooted into theory and is supported by empirical evidence. People have tested it many times and we know the answers. So when I will be telling you that, for example, immigrants create jobs, not steal jobs as many people believe, I will actually show you statistics to prove that claim. When I will tell you that job outsourcing creates jobs in the United States, it's not my belief, it's actually an economic fact, and I will show you statistics. And again, it's not to say that immigration or job outsourcing is always good. There are definitely groups of people who lose, and we'll discuss that. And when there are certain negatives, and we'll discuss those. But again, there are certain positives, and they tend to be much greater than the negatives. And so just keep your mind open so that you can understand the opposite, the opposing, opinions that are not like yours. And you'll do fine then. Now let me introduce a little bit myself. Let me talk a little bit about me so you know whom you're dealing with. As you can tell by my accent, I'm not from here. I was originally from Ukraine, was born there and lived there until I was 16. I lived in a number of countries since then, notably in Germany, Canada. I did my master's in Texas, and for the last 3.5 years I've been here in Greensboro, North Carolina. So as I said, I did my master's in economics at the University of Texas at Dallas. And I did my PhD in international business and human resource management at the University of Calgary in Canada. I want to point out that even though I'm now more in international business / international HR, I do know a lot about economics. There are many students in this class I know who are majoring in accounting or economics or finance. And sometimes those people look down upon people who do kind of the micro-level research, the psychology, the HR side of management. They kind of think of those people as not smart enough to do real economics or finance research. Well, as I said, my master's was in economics. My undergraduate was in economics. I actually had a straight 4.0 in my master's and close to that in my undergraduate. So I know that stuff very well too. The reason I switched more into the HR, kind of the touchy-feely side, is just because I feel that this is where the real decisions are made and this is where the real stuff is happening. But again, I'm very comfortable with numbers, and so the reason I switched into the touchy-feely stuff is not because I couldn't comprehend the numeric stuff. Most of my research is on cross-cultural teams. So basically, if you have a bunch of people from different cultures and they have to work together, I'm devising programs and strategies for minimizing the negatives of that cultural diversity and maximizing the positives. I do a lot of research on acculturation, team building, My personal favorite is economic effectiveness evaluation of HR programs. So when we do something, including Teach You Now, how do we know that it's working? How do you know that this hour that you spend in watching me is worth being spent? Maybe you should have done something else. And so my research, among other things, does analysis of what works and what doesn't, and what should be done to make what doesn't work better, right? I guess you can read the rest of my professional summary, so member of academies and all that kind of stuff. Let's briefly look at the map of Europe. Anyone knows where Ukraine is? If you don't, well, this is Ukraine. As you can see, one of the biggest European countries, and this is my hometown, right about here, right? As I said, I'm actually lost my Ukrainian citizenship and acquired Canadian citizenship, so I consider Canada my second home. Though I guess, again, I was born and raised in Ukraine, so Ukraine is my true country of origin. I have lived and worked in a number of countries, and here are some of them. So all around Europe, North America, obviously, primarily Texas, Canada, and now North Carolina. I have taught or worked for an extended period of time in a number of other countries, and so those pins here show where else. Quite a few, as you see. This is my family, my lovely wife, and my 2 kids. Sooner or later you will figure out or find out that my wife is a student, and I want to point out that I didn't marry a student. We've been married for a long time. She just went back to school. That's just for the record, so you're not thinking of me as someone who took advantage of a student. No, she just went back to school. And now let's talk about this course. So there are some good news and there are some bad news. Good news is that I've taught this course many times before. I actually got fairly good teaching evaluations, and I feel very comfortable teaching this course. It should be well organized, and you should probably like it. But the bad news is that this is the very first time I teach it online. So glitches are possible, and I apologize in advance. I'll do my best to have it a smooth run, but if something goes wrong, my apologies. First time, some things will have to take time to be figured out. Good news is that the stuff that I teach, international business, I truly love, and I can say that I probably know fairly well. At least I'm invited often to speak on these topics, interviewed sometimes on these topics, invited to teach this course at other universities. So I'd say if you want to learn more about international business, I'm the guy who can help you. The bad news is that I kind of expect a lot of you. So I wouldn't settle for just, saying a few words about this stuff. You will probably need to know a little more than usual to get a good grade in this course. You'll probably do well enough, you'll probably get a high grade, but again, it will take some effort, and I will expect a lot from you. Good news is that this stuff is easy to comprehend. It's not your statistics. I taught statistics, and I've had students who literally are not capable of understanding some of the stats concepts. Heteroscedasticity, what the hell is that? How do you deal with that? And more importantly, when you see that formula for correcting for heteroscedasticity, man, how can anyone understand that? And I can sympathize with that. I understand this is tough stuff. Sometimes it would take me several days to comprehend some of those issues. International business, at least as far as covered in this course, not that complicated. The bad news, though, is that it takes time. So there is a lot of stuff in this course, and you will just have to do a lot of readings. You will have to invest a considerable amount of time in this stuff. So you'll probably have to spend as much or maybe even more time on this course than what you're spending on your regular economics or accounting course. So it will require time, but most of the time will not be sitting and cracking difficult concepts. It will be just basically going through the tons of materials included in this course. Now, what is this course like in terms of organization? There are some courses that are like this maze that you see on the picture. In order to get your A+, you must navigate a very complex maze and then hope that you will take the right turns. This course is nothing like that. Getting to your A+ is more like this. The road to A+ in this course is very, very straight. There are no needs for any shortcuts. There are no bumps on this road. It's just a very straight road. The problem here is that the road is long. So all you really need to do is to walk that walk. So you need to drive that road, but it will be a long drive. You will just have to take all those steps every single day, and if you do, it's a guaranteed A+. So those of you who want to boost your GPA, those of you who need a higher GPA for your scholarship or just to impress your dad and mom, this is your chance. If you want, I guarantee you will get an A+ in this course. This is not your accounting. There is no lottery element here. There is no guessing. There is nothing. It's very predictable. If you put the hours in, you will get your A+. The problem is that you do have to put those hours in. It's almost a horrible thing to say, but creativity will not help you here. IQ will not help you here. You can be the smartest guy on the planet, but if you don't read this stuff, if you do not do your homework, if you don't put the sufficient time to go through the course material, you cannot guess the answers on the exam. It is not common knowledge. But then at the same time, even if you're not very smart, but if you put the hours in, you will get your A+. And I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I wish I could say that, if you're smart, it's good. But again, this stuff is not complicated. It just takes time to understand. And if you do take that stuff, that time, you will understand and you will get your A+. So if you need higher GPA, don't miss your chance. At the end of this presentation, I will actually show you some of the exam questions from the last semester. Exam questions that, by the way, are possibly likely to appear on the exams this semester. I'm not sure how you will do, but historically when I show it in the first lecture, most students don't get any single question, or maybe a couple just, by pure chance. So what I'm trying to say here is that even though questions are not difficult, it's not everyday knowledge. If you don't prepare, you will not pass. You will not guess the answer. The good news is, as I said, if you do prepare, there is no way you can forget it. There is no way you will not know the answer on the exam. So I normally have quite a few students with A+, probably about 30% actually. So, but then again, I have lots of students who have very low grades. So the distribution is kind of bimodal. So I have lots of good grades, but then I have lots of bad grades. And there is really nobody in between, and I think the reason for that is because if you study, it's an A+. If you don't, it's an F or D. And so there is really nothing in between. You cannot not know it if you study, and you can't know it if you don't. Right? Now, here's another activity that I play with my students, and I guess this is my psychology training shows up here. As I said, my PhD was in international HR, but probably half of my classes were taken at the School of Psychology, and I majored in what they would call industrial organizational psychology. So I like experiments, I like illustrations, and so here is one of them. Again, I wish you were in the classroom. I would actually have a real glass on the desk there, but let's do it hypothetically on the screen. So you see this glass here, right? The question is it full or is it empty? Whatever you want to say it now. Again, historically, most students say that it's empty. There is always one smarty pants who says, oh, it's actually full because there is air in it. And I say, well, don't get smart on me. I mean, it is empty. You can clearly see it's empty. And yes, that air, wow, but it is empty. Then I would put some rocks in that cup. Like literally, I would put some rocks. And I would ask the students, well, tell me now, is it full or empty? And about half of the students, maybe 2/3 of the students say, well, now it is full. Well, and I say, yes, it is probably full. But you understand that there is lots of empty space left in the glass. And then I would take a bag with little bubbles or gravel, and I would put those in the glass, and I would ask the students again, well, is it full now? And well, some students kind of hesitate, but most say, well, probably now it is full. And I say, are you sure? And then some say, well, not completely, there is some air there. And I say, sure, yes. And then I would actually take a bottle of beer. I don't really take a bottle of beer. I would normally take a bottle of Coca-Cola, and I would pour it into the glass, and I say, well, is it full now? And some students say, well, now it's definitely full. And others say, well, you can probably still put something in it. But the point of this exercise is that this course is very much like this metaphor here. So the big rocks represent the everyday knowledge that everybody knows. So when we talk about international business, that would be things like, for example, do you know what currency exchange is? Or do you know who immigrants are? Or do you know what a joint venture is, international joint venture is? If you know this stuff, good for you, but it's not good for this class, or not good enough for this class. The general everyday knowledge is absolutely necessary to succeed in this class, but it's definitely not sufficient to get a good grade in this class. So this is necessary, but not good enough. The smaller pieces, or gravel or pebbles, are represent here more specialized knowledge. Knowledge that not everybody may have, knowledge that is course specific. And so this is the special knowledge that you attain in this class, and this is what gets you your A+, right? So you would need to have that special knowledge that an average person on the street doesn't have in order to get a good grade in this class. And by the way, about that beer, that's when you decide to study this stuff at the graduate level. You're going to need lots of that stuff to graduate. And so I guess that represents very, very special, fine-tuned, advanced knowledge that you would have only if you studied this topic beyond what's covered in this class, right? Okay. Now let's talk about course outline, and I'm going to create a separate video for this so you don't have to watch the whole thing at once.